Welcome back to another one of my videos. As always, I find these stories that I read to you from different subreddits on the Reddit website. And I always leave a link in the description. So that way, instead of watching gameplay through the video, you can read along if you would like to. That said, let's get into the video. The difference between monsters and men. The up-armored Humvee bumped over another pothole, and I wiped out a bead of sweat that hung just above my left eyebrow. I wished I could take this vest off, I thought to myself. Despite how well-maintained the company vehicles were, it seemed that Humvee air conditioners were a bit of a gamble in terms of how well they worked. Some kept their rigs icy cool, while others put out just enough tepid air to keep the inside of the steel-covered boxes from turning into ovens. Wearing a thick bulletproof vest, camouflage fatigues, and with the afternoon temperature sticking to a balmy 86 degrees, I had long ago decided that I agreed with the contractors. Humvees sucked. "You good, Kaba?" Our team leader, Aussie, called back to me from the front passenger seat, eyebrow raised. My full name, Adrit Veer Kabanagarajan, had proven rather difficult for most average Americans to pronounce. Since the mercs referred to each other by nicknames, they were more than pleased when I told them they could call me Kaba for short. My father had moved us from Rajasthan to Ohio years ago to avoid a potential war between India and Pakistan. It had been hard at first, but I grew used to America, and had managed to find a good job for myself after graduating from university. The company had many fake titles, but the real name, the one we all knew as office employees, remained burned into the back of my mind. The Environmental Liminal Space Alleviation and Reduction Program. I flashed a thumbs up and smiled to hide the grimace from how my guts whirled in protest at the bumpy ride that had gone on for close to half an hour. "I'm okay." "Good job, mate." Aussie returned my thumbs up with his own. The Rangers lead the way tattoo on his arm showing just under his rolled uniform sleeves, and nodded at my canteen. "Keep drinking water, though. Don't want anyone falling out today." All fighters were supposed to use the code names provided by LSAR headquarters, a combination of letter and numbers, such as R11, Aussie's true designation, but the mercs hated those names and preferred the more personal call signs. His was due to the fact that he'd originally come from Melbourne, Australia before his US Army days, and Aussie's down-under accent remained part of his speech to this day. I'd been incredibly nervous about working with the grunts, as my fellow office workers called them, firmly convinced they would beat me into a pulp right away. As it turned out, nothing was further from the truth. In fact, in all my days in the US thus far, I'd never felt more welcome around a group of people than the bearded men of the security forces. Even though they had a sense of humor as dark as the midnight sky, they measured everyone who they came across by a standard based around actions. If you acted like an arrogant know-it-all, you could expect to be treated as an outsider who didn't deserve the time it took to say hello. If you listened to their advice and kept your head, when they teased you, the mercs would all but adopt you as the long-lost brother in no time. It was a startlingly egalitarian culture, and I'd come to like it far better than the petty office politics of my old position. If only it wasn't so beastly hot. Perched in the machine gun turret above me, Tex leaned down and half shouted above the dull rumble of the Humvee's diesel engine. "Hey, isn't this where Bronson's platoon got wrecked by some freaks at an abandoned church?" "Yeah, a few miles down the ridgeline," in the driver's seat, the tall mahogany-skinned Jamaican, Rocco, bobbed his head. I guess he was trying to get some special capture for HQ and got bounced by a bunch of them all at once. I threw a glance to my left at the person who had yet to say anything for the entire patrol thus far. Despite my quick, discreet look, she remained motionless and stared out the window on her side, rifle cradled in one arm like a steel infant. The girl was slender and short, enough to make me look tall. A mean feat, to say the least. She had the same sun-tanned Caucasian skin of everyone in this sleepy rural county, with brown hair the color of sandal leather. Hardly any of the contractors were women, and none of them local. This was by design, to intimidate potential adversaries and to prevent family ties from interfering with official duty. But Crow was both. Like the rest of us, she wore a gray tactical uniform, hers sporting a green shield patch on her upper right arm, signifying the new auxiliary program that HQ had initiated to draw more recruits from the local populace. Unlike the others, Crow's nickname didn't match anything about her. She wasn't dark in any way, and I hadn't heard her speak a word since I'd joined the team a week ago. Crow followed orders whenever Aussie gave them, albeit silently, and the team seemed to watch her with a strange mix of caution and sympathy that I had yet to figure out. She could be a statue for how little she moves, I thought to myself. Figures. Texas Southern drawl broke me from my musings, and he went back to scanning the road behind his long-barreled 240. Bronson was a royal prick anyway. He manned a desk for division supply back in Afghanistan, but the cocky POG bragged saying he went outside the wire all the time. POG, person other than grunt. It was an insult awarded to anyone who hadn't ever served in the combat arms portion of the military that tried to pretend they were some kind of war hero. POG meant you weren't experienced in the ways of war, that you were foolhardy, rash, arrogant, all things these guys hated, especially in officers. All it takes is one mistake, and we're in the same boat. Ozzy scratched at his curly reddish-brown beard and made a slight headshake. Bronson was a bloody moron, though. You know the guy actually tried to get approval for strategic camps to herd the locals into, right? Can you imagine putting some farmer and his family behind barbed wire at gunpoint? I said nothing. We'd heard about Bronson's demise in the office. He'd been in possession of a high-value target, though his methods were less than satisfactory. When Bronson's patrol got torn apart as a result, headquarters had decided to dispatch a cooperate liaison, with each security team to gather scientific samples from the field, before the mercs could kill everything in sight. As one of the newer members of the biological analysis team, I'd drawn the short straw along with many others, and had been sent to play the role of a beetle-catching nerd on behalf of the suits who rested safely in their cubicles over 100 miles away. Now, I carried an M4 automatic rifle and several loaded magazines, a Kevlar helmet on my head, with my backup handgun digging into me from where it sat on my tactical belt. Green trees rolled by, the red sun hugging the horizon as it sank in cotton ball clouds drifted along in the cool breeze. It was gorgeous weather, what my mother would have called it a gardening day, as her favorite pastime dictated. She's probably in the kitchen right now, making sandash or Lakshmi when she gets home from swimming practice, I thought to myself. Contact front, white pickup truck, 200 meters, Texas cry rang out from the gun turret, and ice rippled through my blood. Sitting up, I peered around Rocco's seat to stare out the front window, just in time to see a civilian pickup truck take off down the back road, leaving behind a cloud of dust as it went. I could barely catch a circular green symbol painted onto the door of the vehicle, and a few figures huddled in the back wearing black polo shirts, rifles clutched in their hands. Moving too fast for us to catch up, the truck disappeared down the road, and above me, Tex cranked the gun turret from side to side. Everyone seemed on edge, as these men had been on the receiving end of an ambush at one point of their lives. And I could see them all reliving those memories in their eyes as they scanned the nearby trees. Even Crow sat up in her seat and flexed her slender white fingers on the grip of her rifle with a stony expression. If you liked that video, then like the video. If you're going to bed soon, sweet dreams. And if you have a full day ahead of you, I hope it goes well. Thank you for taking your time to spend on watching one of my videos on my channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.